All right, today we're diving into the rise of King David. And it's a story that kind of flips our whole idea of power right on its head. See, it's not really about ambition or taking over, but about the heart of the person who's leading. So, let's get right into it. This line from one of David's own Psalms, it's pretty much the key to understanding his entire life. It speaks to this deep humility, this gut-level feeling that his real strength came from somewhere else entirely. It's a powerful idea, and it's what we're going to dig into.
So that really begs the question, what actually makes a great leader? Is it just about being powerful, the smartest person in the room? Well, David's story suggests it's something totally different. Let's find out what that is.
So our story really kicks off with a test. David, the newly anointed king, he's immediately faced with his first massive challenge. And how he responds? Well, it tells us everything about the kind of leader he was destined to become. Okay, so this is where David's character really shines. His biggest rival, King Saul, is gone. The throne is right there for the taking. But instead of throwing a party, he mourns. He shows this generosity of spirit that you just don't see, not then and not now. It's an incredible lesson in rising above the personal stuff to honor something bigger than yourself.
And look, this wasn't just some political act. David's grief was absolutely real. I mean, he and Saul had a complicated history, to say the least. But he loved Saul's son Jonathan like a brother. This lament, he writes, is just this beautiful, raw expression of that loss. And it's a reminder that even in victory, there's always a place for compassion.
So, Saul's gone. What's David's next move? The path to power is wide open, but instead of just grabbing it, he waits. Now, this isn't weakness, it's a profound act of trust. David gets the true authority isn't something you take, it's something you're given.
And this basically becomes David's playbook for making huge decisions. First, he asks for guidance. Then he actually waits for the answer. And only then does he move forward with confidence. It's so simple, but man, is it a powerful model for navigating any big change in life.
All right, every great kingdom needs a capital city, right? A heart, a center of power and culture. And for David, this was way more than just a political move. This was a chance to build a city that would truly reflect his vision for the nation of Israel.
See, at this point, the tribes of Israel are pretty fragmented, and David knew he needed a neutral ground to bring everyone together. And his pick? Jerusalem, a city with this deep, mysterious past and a destiny that was just about to unfold.
Now, to really get why Jerusalem was such a big deal, we have to rewind way back to this mysterious figure named Melchizedek. He was both a king and a priest, a super rare combination back then. And his connection to Jerusalem, or Salem as it was called, hints at the city's unique destiny as a place where heaven and earth were meant to meet.
And this prophecy? Whoa, it's a total game changer. It suggests that David's own royal line would one day bring forth a king who was also a priest, just like Melchizedek. And for Christians, of course, this points straight to Jesus, the ultimate king and high priest.
Okay, so David's got his capital city. First order of business? You'd think, build a palace, right? Fortify the walls? Nope. David's top priority was something else entirely.
For David, it was simple. A kingdom without God's presence? Well, it wasn't much of a kingdom at all. The Ark of the Covenant was so much more than a religious object. It was the symbol of his personal connection to God. And he wanted it right in the very heart of his city.
I mean, picture this. This is not what you expect from a king. David just tosses aside his royal robes and dances with this pure, uninhibited joy. It's such a powerful image of a leader who isn't afraid to be vulnerable and passionate in his faith.
Well, that kind of devotion, it doesn't go unnoticed, and in response, David receives a promise that will literally change the course of history. A promise of a kingdom that would last forever.
This right here, this is the core of what we call the Davidic covenant. It's amazing. David wanted to build a physical house for God, a temple, but instead, God promises to build a different kind of house for David, a royal dynasty, a family line that would never, ever end.
Think about that. This is a promise that stretches across 1,000 years. From the time of David's reign all the way to the birth of Jesus, this covenant was this thread of hope woven all through Israel's history, and it all leads to a manger in Bethlehem.
And there it is. The promise finally lands. Everything that was promised to David now being spoken by an angel to Mary. Jesus, the descendant of David, is the eternal king, and his kingdom, it will have no end.
But David's story isn't just about building an external kingdom of land and power. It's about the kingdom within. And that's the one that truly matters.
Let's be real. David was far from perfect. He messed up.
big time. But what defines his legacy isn't his failure. It's what he did next. It was his willingness to always turn back to God and just ask for a clean heart. It's a huge reminder that real strength isn't about never messing up. It's about being humble enough to ask for a fresh start.
So, when we put it all together, what can we learn from David? Well, first, seek direction. Start by asking. Second, show grace and honor, even to people you disagree with. Third, remember you're part of a much bigger story, a kingdom that has no end. And maybe most important of all, guard your heart, because that's where true leadership begins.
And that really leaves us with one last big question that David's story poses to every one of us. If your heart is a kingdom, who sits on the throne?